All right, the Nifty closed absolutely flat. In fact, just 11 points higher versus yesterday's close. We saw the Nifty close at 24,636, and in fact, it was a very, very range-bound day of trade as well. In fact, the Nifty traded in a very tight range of just about 70 basis points. The spike downwards that you see was during the CAS segment of trading, which is the last half an hour of trading, and especially the last 15 minutes is when you saw that spike. So some volatility, but at the end of it, there was stability, which was the positive, at least in trade today. That large choppiness that we've been seeing last few days, at the last 10 minutes of trade, well, that seems to have gone away. While the choppiness is there, but the closing rates haven't been meaningfully different from where we've closed in the cash segment at. So that's the one key positive. Now let's talk a little bit about stocks. And within the Nifty, it was essentially Reliance which drove all the gains today, frankly. 65 positive points was the contribution that Reliance has given the Nifty, 3.5% higher on Reliance Industries today in trade. Some real nice spike that we've seen. SBI was the other one. BEL was the third. The top three gainers, one from the PSU banking space, one from the defense space, one from the oil and gas space. And we saw that distribution play out even amongst sectors which contributed to the Nifty. So broadly, that was the tilt. In terms of the defense sector, and as Merrill was pointing out, 2.4% higher on BEL, but the defense space was completely in a zone of its own. 3% higher on the Nifty India Defense Index. Now we're touching 10,000, just 300 odd points away. And we've seen some very smart moves. HAL being one of them, Mazgon Dock being the other one, Garden Reach also was perked up in trade. And among the F&O gainers, those were some of your top gainers from the F&O basket. And you saw some very decent moves across all of the Nifty India Defense constituents. Let's pull up all the constituents. In fact, if you pull up the Nifty India Defense Index and the constituents there, you'll see the kind of moves that we saw. Some very, very decent moves from BEL and all. When you're looking at the top loser, it's Power Grid. On the back of the numbers that came out, weaker than anticipated, 4% lower on Power Grid as a result. Tata Steel, JSW Steel, commodities taking a bit of a backseat. So was IT. You saw TCS also lower. Private sector banks were the other ones, which were a little bit low on zinc today. And you saw some pressure on a Kotak and the like as well in trade. So that was broadly the tilt. In terms of sectors, I want to quickly zoom in, and even within the sectoral basket, Auto was the other one, which took a bit of a backseat after the kind of moves we've seen. Realty was the other one, and IT, of course, down 1%. The PSU banking index did very well on given the spike in SBI, 2.2% higher on the PSU banking index. The Nifty Bank, as a result, was up 0.5% thereabouts. Small cap, mid cap, well, there was a divergence there, a 0.5% higher on the Nifty small cap index, 0.4% higher, lower on the Nifty mid cap index. So there was a divergence, a clear and evident divergence there within small cap as well as mid cap. But let me go across to Darshita. She's here to set us up for the day of trade of Friday to close the week. What are the cues, Darshita, that we need to watch out for?
Right, let's take a look at the global cues and the heavyweight earnings which could remain in focus for August 7. And starting off first with the biggest trigger globally, which is the US non-farm payrolls and the unemployment data. Now, these numbers could shape the expectations around the Federal Reserve's next rate move, making them crucial for the global markets. Now, from Asia, investors will also watch China's trade data and foreign exchange reserves for clues on the health of the world's second largest economy. Back home, India's forex reserve data will be on the radar, offering a snapshot of the country's external strength. On the earnings front, all eyes will be on Titan, SBI and Hindalco, three heavyweight Nifty names, where Titan demand trend, SBI asset quality and loan growth, and Hindalco commentary on metal prices and margins will be closely tracked. Now, in the primary market, RD Industries IPO closes, while Technocraft Ventures and Leap India will open for subscription. So overall, it's a session packed with macro triggers and marquee earnings that could set the tone for the market.
All right. Thank you, Darshita, for taking us through that. But I'll now bring on board Osho Krishnan of Angel One here to break down with us how the technical setup for the next day of trade is looking like. Osho, great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us. First of all, of course, on that cash segment, that the last downtick that we saw, very sharp downtick in the last 15-20 minutes of trade, and the subsequent recovery almost immediately. How do you read that?
Very good evening to both of you, and firstly, thank you for having me at the show. Well, yes, no doubt we are witnessing a very range-bound movement in today's trading session. There has been a very narrow range of nearly 75, 80 odd points only. But the positive thing that we can uh, witness in the last four trading session is that now the volatility because of cash closing is not being very much differentiation, because initially it has started from 200 points of gap, then 150, then 70, and today almost 10, 15 points of gap only. So now it's very negligible. Now the market has stabilized the cash closing, and I'm expecting that from here onwards we can have a very decent sense that from market on the basis of closing we can see a kind of a strong momentum, and if Nifty can provide some kind of cues that will actually mirror to the market sentiments. Now coming to the technical perspective of Nifty, in the last four trading session, the momentum has definitely been lost. The bull side momentum has definitely been lost in the market. So on the higher end, the 200, the simple moving average, and even the highs of Monday near about 24,770, 780 kind of a zone is likely to provide very strong resistance for Nifty. So until we witness a kind of a decisive surpass above the zone of 770, 800 odd levels, till that time at higher levels, one should stay cautious and one should refrain from any aggressive bets in the benchmark index. While positive front is that any kind of correction or any kind of profit booking towards the zone of 24,500 to 450 can be seen as a buying opportunity, because the undertone of the market is quite bullish. There has been sectoral themes which are being positive on a rotation basis. For example, today defense counters were looking very positive. PSU banks have taken a very strong upseat. So I'm expecting that now sectoral or thematical movers will be in the major seat, and from here onwards we can see stock specific action to have more movement rather than benchmark index.
Osho, what do you make of the range which the FNO indicators are suggesting? There's a huge amount of resistance coming in at 24,700. There's a huge amount of support also cropping up at 24,600. Do you expect Friday to be a range-bound day of trade of sorts, just given some of these trends that have played out slightly late in the session, the unwinds that happened and the positions that got built up?
See, overall, I expect that with the kind of developments that we have seen on derivative front on the lower end, 24,600 and 24,500 has witnessed a decent put writing. So these levels will be providing very strong support zone for the Nifty. While on the higher end, again, 24,700, 800, as you mentioned, has decent call writing as well. And the positive front is that the put call ratio is now on a comfortable zone near about the zone of 0.9. So that's on the neutral stance. That means from here onwards, any kind of positive development from the global markets or any stock specific movement depends on the earnings. So those will provide very strong momentum in our market. So we are awaiting for a trigger. From here onwards, the undertone has been set up on a bullish front. There has been a very strong technical breakout in the benchmark index. So I'm expecting that any kind of positive trigger from the global front can provide very strong momentum in the market. And in the upcoming period, we can see very strong momentum on the higher end. But again, as I mentioned earlier, also 24,770, 780 is a crucial hurdle. If we breach those levels, then one may become aggressive buyers in the market.
Okay, so those are the levels on the Nifty that you're looking at. But you did point out that volatility in the cash segment has been going down consecutively over the past 3 days. Even today, it was a lot better than where we started off. How do you expect tomorrow's session perhaps to play out, and how does that change the market setup for you?
See, overall, the major concern that everyone, even I was having from the cash settlement was there was no clarity. But now, as we are spending more and more time in the market, we are getting a sense of stabilization because of cash market. So overall, sentiments closes around the zone of 315, but because of the auction, definitely market settles around 330. So that is still there, and that will be in the play in the market. But overall, now the market has definitely seen a kind of stabilization. So now cash closing will not have any strong implications going forward. And I expect that now, as previous week, we were witnessing a kind of a strong momentum in Gift Nifty, or we were taking cues from Gift Nifty that whether we are going to have a positive opening or a negative opening. Same kind of sentiments will be seen from day or maybe tomorrow from Friday. We can sense those kind of momentum from Gift Nifty that whether our market is going to have a positive or negative day, and accordingly one can have a decent play in the markets.
What's the sense, Osho, with regard to I know that Reliance is one of your picks as well, but just give us a sense of what you make in terms of the move today. 3.5% is not a mean move. It's a very large move for Reliance.
See, overall, being the heavyweight counter, if Reliance have started making some kind of comeback and that on a sustainable basis, that is very positive front for the market. So the ATR for Reliance from morning till afternoon has provided very strong cushioning, and the whole movement was expecting to have a very strong cushioning to the whole market. So I'm expecting that with the kind of traction, with the kind of momentum the counter is into, and that too from a very strong support zone, there is very strong potential for having a strong momentum play in the Reliance going forward. So the technicals have started turning bullish. Although if I have to wait for a confirmation, then definitely I will be waiting for a confirmation. But with the kind of closer the counter has given, and that too on the back of strong volumes, I am expecting that going forward from here onwards, even there can be strong opportunities in the counter, and one may look for opportunity on the higher end buying side. 1360-80 should be the zone that one can eye for Reliance in the near period.
Right, those are the levels on Reliance. But Osho, tell us, defense was the entire Nifty defense pack that moved quite well in trade today. How are you viewing the important levels for that one?
Again, the defense counter was looking very positive. There has been strong traction in some of the counters from past few weeks, but today there has been significant development. So overall, the defense counter, even the shipping companies have started gaining strong traction. So I'm expecting that with the kind of momentum, no doubt some kind of momentum will be getting fizzled out in the next trading session, but the momentum is definitely changed towards the bullish front. So now onwards, any kind of correction, any kind of breather in the defense company can provide very strong opportunities going forward, and one may look for buying opportunity in majority of the counters which are having a greater risk reward ratio. So those counters should be on the radar, and one should look for accumulation in majority of the counters from the defense play. The whole sector has been a kind of has been into a stabilization phase. It was not into a very strong corrective zone. So the whole counter was into a positive scenario, and with the kind of momentum coming back in the counter, I expect that going forward, there may be a very strong potential for bullish momentum in the whole space.
Also, top picks and top bets, ideas?
There are several counters which are looking very positive to me, but some of them which I would like to recommend is, first one is from the defense basket. Apollo Microsystem is looking very positive. There has been positive traction in the counter. So one may look for accumulation in this counter. 394 will be the advisable stop loss, and near about 420 will be the short-term target that one can look in the counter. The other one is from the PSU basket, PSU banks. PSU banks have seen major momentum in today's trading session. The counter which is looking very positive to me, the one of the more counters which is looking positive to me is Indian Bank. It has given a very strong momentum in today's trading session. There has been a strong volume in the counter. So one may look to accumulate this counter on any dip towards 870.75. 844 will be the advisable stop loss, and 900 will be the target that one can expect in the short-term period. And the third one is definitely the heavyweight counter, Reliance. This counter, again, on the technical front, if one should wait, then 1330 will 1335 to 1338 will be the potential resistance zone. But aggressive traders can look to accumulate counters at current levels also. 1290 will be the advisable stop loss. 1360, 1370 is the target that I'm expecting with Reliance.
Okay, thank you for your picks, Osho. But I just have to ask you this on the IT pack. I mean, that's been like very in the spotlight over the past couple of weeks as well, and we've seen a lot of unwinding in the global AI trade. SpaceX was down sharply in the US markets yesterday as well. How do you see this benefiting our Indian IT companies, the important levels for the IT pack, especially since they're one of the top losers in today's trade?
The overall IT has already seen very strong outperformance in